to the Football for Kids podcast with me, Darren Rees, and welcome to another brand new episode. In this episode, we're going to be talking to a couple of footballing authors about their books, about writing, and all things in between. Before we get into this episode properly, a massive shout out to Marlo, who plays for Trim Celtic Under-7s, who is a big fan of the show and is a wonderful footballer and loves all the stories and episodes and everything which he is learning from the podcast. So Marlo, a massive shout out to you and to everybody in your team and your coaches. Thank you so much for being a listener, and I really hope you enjoy this episode. Right, here we go then. Let's get into the episode with two of the best footballing authors in children's books around. They are the authors of the Football G.O.A.T Series, and they go by the names of Matt and Seth. But I'll let them introduce themselves properly.
Hi, I am Matt Oldfield. I am a children's football author of the co-author of the Ultimate Football Hero series, and obviously of the Football G.O.A.T series. I also write Unbelievable Football, basically a lot of children's books that all have football in the title.
Hi, I'm Seth Burkett. I'm also a children's football author, and I'm the co-author of the Football G.O.A.T series with Matt, and we also wrote Plenty of Football Heroes together.
The first thing I wanted to know is, what is it about football for them that makes it such a magical subject? What do they love about it so much that it's caused them to write so many football books?
This is a question that I get asked in schools a lot when I go and visit, and I still don't have a great answer for it. I think there's something so exciting about the drama of football, that whole idea of you never quite know what's going to happen next. You go into something, especially the live experience of football, you never know what's going to happen, and that's such an exciting thing. And I think there's the simplicity of football as well. It's such, at heart, it's such a simple game that you can really, you don't need to know that much to follow the game and understand it and get into the whole feel of it, and the characters and the history of the game are just, all of that together, I think somehow makes football what it is.
I think it's the way it brings people together. For me, football is most magical. Thinking back to being a kid and going to the field and seeing, who's up there, can we get a game together? And you're playing, you're going to school afterwards, you're all talking about football, you're swapping stickers, and I just think that way that everyone can have a great chat about it. Everyone, so many people are interested in it. It's a great talking point, and people are so passionate about it as well. Makes it really magical for me.
Now, one of the things we all love about football is the characters. And that's why so many people have ended up listening to this podcast, because we explore the characters and their lives and their journeys. But I wanted to ask Matt and Seth why they thought it was important that we as football fans understand who the people are who we're watching in the stands and on the television.
I think it makes them relatable. I think they are role models. Footballers, people model their behaviour on them. And a lot of footballers have incredible behaviour. They've got amazing resilience. That's what we use a lot in the book, about how they've had to bounce back from these really big setbacks. Even the best footballers of all time have missed penalties, been injured, lost games. And it's how they deal with those setbacks, which I find really inspiring, and actually can share a lot of life lessons from that. Their personality on the pitch, the way they lead in the dressing room, these are also really good messages which translate to a lot of other areas of life. So I think those characters are really important. I also think it's just really nice to know the people that you support, know what they're like, what makes them tick. It makes those connections much more powerful.
I mean, I love writing all the books that I write, but I think the ones that I always enjoy the most are the ones where I'm learning as I go along. So people, Messi and Ronaldo, love them, but because they're so famous, there's so much information out there, you sort of absorb it whether you like it or not, really. Whereas so many of the other slightly less famous players, you just don't know so much about their backstories, and it's so interesting learning. I mean, I'm thinking with the Ultimate Football Heroes series in particular, like Luka Modric, learning about his kind of really tragic childhood stuff, but it's just so interesting in terms of what that does. And as Seth was talking about resilience and bouncing back and that kind of character, what those kind of childhood experiences would actually do, how it sort of builds and forms these different characters. It's so interesting.
I then asked Matt and Seth about how do they go about starting a football book. Fantastic, you've got an idea, but where does a journey actually begin? For authors like them who are at the top of their game, where do you actually start?
That's a great question. It so depends on the book. I mean, the whole Football G.O.A.T thing, it started for us with being in schools and listening to what was going on around us. It's almost a bit like market research for us. We're like, we're there to talk about our books and talk about reading, but we're also tuning in to what the chat is in the playground, what people are talking about. And I guess that's where it all starts, is coming up with that idea that feels like it could really engage and people want to hear about it. And then from there, I think it's about trying to turn it into a proper book, working out how we can break things down into different sections and turn it into basically going from that kind of basic idea, which is great, into an actual book. That's probably the sort of the step that takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of planning and kind of organizing. And yeah, for Seth and I, that took a while with the Football G.O.A.T series, because we had this idea. We were like, yes, this is what we want to do. We want to talk about those massive debates in football, but taking that kind of playground back and forth and turning it into an actual book, that's slightly more difficult. And I think you have to work out how you're gonna tell those stories and how you're gonna bring in the facts and the stats and turn it into something that's a bit more of an actual book, a reading experience.
Next, I asked the guys about what we can expect from reading any of the books in their Football G.O.A.T series.
Yeah, so the whole idea that we wanted to build it around was, we take these classic football debates, so whether it's Messi v Ronaldo, Mbappe v Haaland, Pele v Maradona, Kane v Bellingham, and we break them down into chunks, and we break them down into 4 key categories, kind of 4 areas that we think make up that kind of GOAT footballer, and those are, so character, so that's talking about kind of personality, mentality, mindset, leadership, all of that side of things. And then skills, so we're talking physical skills, speed, power, but also obviously technical skill in terms of like dribbling, crossing, passing, all of that stuff. And tactical skill, that football brain. And then we talk about the stats, obviously, because we need to talk the numbers, but we don't want to just talk numbers. We want to bring in all of that other stuff as well. And then finally, there's a whole section on contribution. So what they've done for their clubs, what they've done for their countries, but also what they've done to kind of change the game itself. And so once you've gone through all of those sections and you've got all of these stats and stories and evidence, the idea is that hopefully the kids, the readers, have got this big, massive picture or that they can then use to decide, okay, well, we agree with Matt or we agree with Seth here, and then they make up their minds at the end of it. And then they can also then go and use all of this in the playground when it comes to their own discussions and, make it more than just I'm right, no, I'm right kind of stuff.
Now, obviously, when you're writing a book, you have to do some serious research. You need to know everything about them, what they had for dinner, the size of their feet, and everything in between. So I wondered, and had to ask the question, did the guys discover some stuff about Messi and Ronaldo which they couldn't quite believe?
I mean, some of the stats are amazing. Certainly, I'd say with Matt, in that Messi and Ronaldo, they're more familiar, whereas Pele v Maradona, that really was mind-blowing, reading some of the stuff there about the goals Pele scored, even about the assists and how creative Pele was. I didn't necessarily understand, and how well loved he was across the world. I think for Messi and Ronaldo, probably the one that comes to mind first is the dribbling. What we like to do in these books is myth bust, and a myth we hear quite a lot is Messi is the go-to dribbling, but then you break down the numbers, and actually Ronaldo, when he started his career, was a much more prolific dribbler and actually much more successful than Messi has been over his career. But as Ronaldo then moved forwards into a striker, there's less need to dribble. However, lots of our readers might have only seen Ronaldo for the last, say, 10 to 15 years of his career. and they're not so familiar with his early days of dribbling and being amazing one-on-one. So it's quite interesting to kind of bring those stats back in and use them to fuel arguments.
Right, well, as you lot do it to me, I thought I'd put the guys in the spot. And I asked them a question you're all wondering. Who did I like best, Messi or Ronaldo?
So for me, Messi would always be the GOAT for me. I mean, some of that is about the stats and the facts, but it's also partly just a kind of personal experience and what I want, as Seth was saying earlier about a lot of it comes down to just what you prefer to watch, right? And I would always take the skill and the kind of the magic over someone who can score goal after goal after goal. That's what I would always prefer.
So Matt is Team Messi, of course. Seth is Team Ronaldo. But what's his reasons for it?
Has done it all over the world, very adaptable, has taken Portugal to new places they've never been to before. Matt is right about skill and artistry with Messi. A lot of that's down to Xavi and Iniesta. If you look at Messi's record without Xavi and Iniesta, he's not really done a great deal. So I think that Ronaldo is the GOAT because he's done it everywhere he's gone. He's so adaptable. He's been amazing on the wing, been amazing up front, scored so many goals. So yeah, for me, for sure, he's the GOAT.
No, you're right, Seth. Ronaldo's had terrible teammates, hasn't he? Yeah, the worst, all of those terrible Real Madrid players that he has to put up with over the years. Oh, how it must be so hard playing with Bruno Fernandes and what terrible teammates. Yeah, you're right.
Do you think Messi could have won the Champions League with Manchester United?
Yes, I do. Given time, I'm fairly sure that if Sir Alex Ferguson had got the chance, he would have snapped him up.
You'd have thought that Messi would win the Champions League when he was playing with Mbappe and Neymar and all those players, right? But
I mean, did Mbappe win the Champions League with those guys? No. I mean, there were clearly issues.
Because he's not the football GOAT either. It's Ronaldo.
We could do this all day, Darren. Honestly.
Well, I don't think those two are ever going to agree on who the GOAT is. But you can check out their entire GOAT series, which includes Messi versus Ronaldo, Mbappe versus Haaland, Pele versus Maradona, and Kane versus Bellingham. The link to buy all of those is in the description of this episode. Thanks to Matt and Seth for coming onto the podcast and sharing their wisdom. They really are fantastic authors and they make brilliant books. So if you've never checked any of them, then please do go and give them a go. And remember, if you know someone who loves football just as much as you do, then please tell them about the Football for Kids podcast. And whether you're playing football soon, watching it on the telly or pitch side, I hope that you enjoy the game. See you next time.
Is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.